So how we introduce ourselves speaks volumes about how we see ourselves. It also does a lot to how you want others to see you. So part of what we're going to explore tonight is how we tell our story, which, let's be honest, is one of the most self-conscious, nerve-wracking, existential, oh fuck, experiences that we go through. And we go through this every single day. Much less having to tell your story when the nature of what you're doing, you're one of those change agents. Oh, one of those. Oh, you're an entrepreneur, right? You're a creative, you're an innovator. Like the very notion of what you do is different. It doesn't easily translate. People don't necessarily get it at first. And so you're hemming and hawing, and oh, maybe I say it this way, or gosh, let me try that on for size. So we're going to explore that. Our theme tonight, okay? Our theme is dreams. Bringing our dreams into reality. I couldn't think of a more exciting or remarkable place to bring forward and explore that theme than here in the land of the Dreamtime. Our dreams. See, as a human species, we're an imaginal species. It's our ability to envision new possibilities, to have an idea, to see something in our mind's eye or even in our sleep, and then in our waking state to share it, to articulate it, to give it voice in a way that others see what we see. So that act from the dream time into a physical manifest form is how we create everything. Everything. Now, this has been going on for 10,000 years, except something has changed. See, it used to be a very few elite got to tell the stories of our lives. It used to be the shaman, the elder, the priest, right, who would sit around the campfire and they would tell us the stories. You see, times are different now. Times are different because we don't have just a couple people who tell the stories anymore. Right? We all get to tell the stories. And while some of us might feel like it's still a pretty scary world out there, we're less focused on the cautionary tales. Right? The morality story doesn't really connect or land for anybody who has a different worldview or value system. In fact, it can hit a lot of tripwires, right, that repels more than it attracts. So that's part of this changing time where we're all in the dream time. We all have the power to tell new stories. And the question is, how do you bottle that magic so others can drink from the well? Right? I mean, really, what gives you the right? I mean, who are you to be telling us a story? Okay? We all struggle with this. I mean, this is part of being a change agent, right? You struggle with, what gives me the right to be doing this? To be a truth sayer, to be, God, a heretic? Because what I'm saying is going to challenge people, isn't it? Okay. The parts of your story that are unreconciled, those are the sources of your greatest untapped power. So learning how to unknot those, the places where it's all tangled up in blue, the things that's like, oh God, I don't know how to talk about that, right? Those places, that's where there's a lot of healing. That's where there's a lot of transformation and shifts that can occur. Okay? Part of this process, and this is what's counterintuitive in doing this work, it's a yogic practice working with your story. Because part of this is, how many of you, as you said, had a revelation, an illumination, you connected the dots tonight, right? Wow. Oh, I see how this, connects to that. And there's a sense of meaning that comes with that, right? There's a sense of identity that comes with that. Okay? Be careful. Be careful. You see, because the moment we get too attached to that one version of the story, it's a lot of suffering. It's a lot of suffering. So that's one of the things I grapple with all the time. I bet you guys do too, right? Like how quickly we are lost without a story. And yet how quickly we are stuck in our story. So the thing I would offer to you around this is, how can you develop a more spacious relationship? A more spacious relationship with your story. To know that you have the right, in fact, the responsibility, not only to tell your story, but to retell it. And to retell it again. And to reinterpret it, your own life experiences, from new vantage points. Okay? And to recognize it's just a story. Okay? That's the paradox. See, story on one hand, story is a location device. It's a location device. Where are you? Who are you? The story serves as that anchor point, both for yourself and anybody you want to be in relationship with. So story is a location device, but story is also a transportation vehicle. Right? Transportation vehicle, right? Because stories take us places, don't they? So the question is, where's that story taking you? Where's that story taking us? And just like you had to make choices going from 90 seconds to 60 seconds, storytelling's an exercise in choice making. It's all about choices. And you get to make new choices again and again and again, just like in your own life. You try one story on for size, and you see how it works. Just like, oh, you know what, today I think I'm going to try pistachio ice cream. Oh, that was so good. But you know what, tomorrow I think I'm going to try the mint chip. It's just a choice. Right? And then you try butter pecan. You're like, oh, God, what was I thinking? Let me go back to pistachio. They're just choices. Okay? It's becoming more dynamic and flexible about that story. What do you guys think about this process of choice making with your story? Right? Like, how do you, like, wearing a story, but then not getting so attached to it that it becomes so precious? My story. Well, you know, God, let me tell you about, well, you know, the reason why I am the way I am, because, gosh, the things I've been through. Okay? How do you not fall into that while still accessing the mojo, the power of the story? Because as humans, like, all we do is story all day long, all night. Even when we go to sleep, what are we doing? Even in our freaking sleep, we're storing, right? So we're like compulsive storytellers, right? Like we are story-making machines. It's all we know how to do. So going to the place of no story is a really important part in our lives. But don't think that it replaces or overcomes the fact that you need to have a story. Otherwise, what the heck am I in relationship with? Right? Okay. And as you develop that sense of identity or presence connecting to who you are, from there, the funny thing that happens, and actually some of you guys, you know, I heard that, like those of you who connected the dots today in a new way for yourself. Was there a sense of relief in some way? Like a sense of like, oh, it makes so much more sense. Right? Some of you guys experience that? So there's a way that you can soften into yourself with that. See, because the more we come to peace with our own story, the more we sort of feel resolved in parts of our story, we get to loosen the reins. Becomes less precious. Or at least the possibility. Because you can go either way with it. Like you can take tonight and be like, oh, right? You can go running home tonight to your mates or your best friend or your spouse and explain to them, oh, I have found my story and I'm going to laminate it and I'm going to gild it and I'm going to put it on the wall, and everybody I come across, I'm going to tell them, you want to know why I do what I do? Oh, let me tell you. I know exactly why, right? Like, you can do that, all right? Or you can play. Continue to explore that the story you told tonight was a story in time. Right? Just a story in time. Right? And as you step into new time, as you step into new context, there might be a new story in time.